This is your macroeconomics video on the money supply and money demand graph. So just like most of the graphs that we've been talking about, this is just a basic supply and demand graph, but this time it's about the money that is in supply versus the demand for money. So in order to graph this, we first have to look at our axes. The vertical axis is going to be the nominal interest rate. And the nominal interest rate is typically denoted with a small I. You can't use large I for the vertical axis because that means investment spending. You will see sometimes when they refer to it as little r generally means the real interest rate, but because the nominal and real interest rates change at the same time, then sometimes various economists use either little I or little r for labeling the vertical axis. The horizontal axis is quantity, and in this case, we're talking about the quantity of money in circulation. So the money supply, which is the actual stock of money, currency and coin that's printed and is circulating throughout people, businesses, and banks, is vertical. And it's vertical because there's not a free market for the printing of money. The only people that can print a currency is the government that sponsors that fiat currency. So for the United States, that is the U.S. government, and currency is printed and controlled by the Department of Treasury within the government. And then, of course, the Federal Reserve or central bank can use monetary policy to shift this money supply line to the right or to the left. But because there's not a free market, there's a monopoly on the printing of currency, the money supply line is vertical. Money demand line is downward sloping just like normal. And money demand is the demand for liquidity. Remember, liquidity means cash. So if you have your various amounts of money or wealth, some of it in cash, some of it in a bank, some of it in stocks and bonds, some of it in real estate. Cash is the most liquid of all of those forms, and you can use it easily to buy and sell goods and services. Money demand increasing or shifting to the right would mean people are taking money away from the bank or liquidating their accounts. When you go and remove money from your checking or savings account or go to an ATM and get cash back, that money demand line shifts to the right because you're demanding liquidity. If you have extra money and you want to save it or put money into the bank, or you want to buy stocks and bonds or other assets, then your money demand goes down. You want less liquidity, and money demand would shift to the left. These two lines, money supply and demand, balance out to determine the interest rate, and this is technically nominal interest rate, which is little I. Again, all of these are labeled sub 1, and then when you shift, you remark your new equilibrium with sub 2. You can use whatever sub-labels you want as long as they're all labeled and consistent. So let's do an example here. On the left-hand side, I have the money supply and demand graph, and on the right-hand side, I have a partial aggregate graph. Remember, whatever we do to the money supply and demand graph is going to affect the interest rate, and that interest rate is going to affect aggregate demand. If interest rates are high, people save their money and demand goes down. If interest rates are low, people borrow and spend, causing aggregate demand to increase. So let's say that there is a fall in the price level. If prices go down while everything else stays the same, including your income, you now have pretty high purchasing power or higher real wealth. So you might have some extra money that you didn't expect to have, and you could save it or buy bonds. When you do this, you shift money demand to the left because you're going to put money into the bank. That is going to lower the interest rate. So on our graph over here on the right, we're going to lower the price. That's going to cause you to put money into the bank or save it. That makes your interest rate go down. And then as your interest rate goes down, there's more goods and services which can be purchased. So everything is kind of a teeter-totter. If you have extra money and you save it, that causes interest rates to go down, and then other people in the economy can now borrow at lower interest rates and spend. and it shifts back and forth, or should toggle back and forth between low interest rates and high interest rates.